Fired FBI Director James Comey's new book isn't officially out until next week, but some new details are out now. Comey is firing back at President Trump, taking aim at everything from his actions to his appearance. His Justice and Homeland Security correspondent, Jeff Pegues.
Comey does not mince words when it comes to describing how he feels about the president. In his book, A Higher Loyalty, the former FBI director blasts President Trump as untethered to truth and goes on to say his leadership is ego-driven and about personal loyalty. Comey's book suggests that there was tension from the beginning, even before the inauguration. Comey briefed Trump on the allegations contained in the then unsubstantiated dossier on Russian interference in the election. Comey writes about the Trump team. They were about to lead a country that had been attacked by a foreign adversary, yet they had no questions about what the future Russian threat might be. Instead, Comey writes they launched into a strategy session about how to spin what we'd just told them to the public. Comey says the president focused on one of the most salacious allegations in the dossier, that he'd had a sexual encounter in a Moscow hotel room. Comey writes Trump strongly denied the allegations, asking rhetorically, I assumed, whether he seemed like a guy who needed the service of prostitutes. Comey also writes about the Oval Office meeting, where he says the president asked him for his loyalty. He testified about that before Congress.
I was playing in my mind, what should my response be? And that's why I very carefully chose the words. And look, I've seen the tweet about tapes. Lordy, I hope they're tapes.
Comey said that moment reminded him of a mobster's induction ceremony. He also said that when he was fired, then DHS Secretary John Kelly told him that he was sick about the situation. Comey says Kelly told him that he didn't want to work for dishonorable people. The White House denies that Kelly used that language. Kelly, of course, is now the White House Chief of Staff. Errol.
Jeff, these excerpts are pretty incredible. How do we expect the president's legal team to respond to this book?
Well, that's a good question, because in the past, when some of these books have come out, like Fire and Fury, for example, the White House and President Trump threatened legal action, and that didn't really work. We're not hearing that the White House is planning any sort of legal action, or President Trump is planning any sort of legal action at this point, but we'll have to see. Obviously, this is just the beginning of what may be a tough several-day stretch for the president as more of these revelations from James Comey's book come out.
Now, as these revelations come out, the president has been continuing his own attacks on the special counsel's investigation, and even his own deputy attorney general, Rod Rosenstein, was at the White House on Thursday. He is there regularly, but do we know anything about his presence at the White House specifically on Thursday?
Well, what we're told is that this was just routine business, that according to the White House, but obviously Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General who was overseeing the Mueller investigation, has been in the crosshairs of the president's tweets and some of his statements as well. But we're told there was nothing unusual about this meeting today at the White House. So, obviously we have to take the White House at its word, but clearly the pressure has been on Rod Rosenstein. And that is something that continues even at this hour.
Now, James Comey himself, his perspective, what's in this book, and his testimony is a part of Mueller's investigation, as well as President Trump's reaction to it. Does what's happening now, or what's about to happen, have the potential to impact the investigation itself?
Well, we know that Mueller has already interviewed James Comey. That has already happened. So what you're hearing in this book and what we're telling you about this in this book is probably information that Mueller already has. It is new to us, but certainly with the team of investigators they have in the special counsel's office, these are questions and answers that they already know about. But what is important here in terms of James Comey and what he is trying to do, this is a public campaign, a very public campaign at that, in that he's describing these interactions with the president. Sure, there was testimony on Capitol Hill earlier last year or later last year in 2017, but we're getting new details from this book. And from those within the FBI and people who support James Comey, this is his way of presenting his story and, in his view, setting the record straight.
Just stunning. Jeff Pegues talking to us from Washington. Thanks, Jeff.
My pleasure.